Sarah from Daddy Dollar Dream Team has now openly admitted to being in a relationship with her father.
And upset that people think we're a couple. Well, we are, but we also don't understand why people see the worst.
Proof that there is something sinister going on between Sarah and Patrick, aka the dad and daughter dream team. Let's talk about their deleted AI account. Another update on the dad and daughter dream team account, which makes Patrick look even more guilty. First of all the stories in the aurelia bridgman account have been deleted from Literotica, which is certainly suspicious timing. If you guys didn't know, this was the Literotica account that has strong ties to either Sarah or Patrick or both, and this was the account that featured several stories with this kind of corn.
What is this?
Sarah, will you wear this ring as a sign and a promise to God and to me to remain pure until the day you're married?
Yes.
Remember the Daddy Daughter Dream Team, the dad that proposed to his daughter with the purity ring and then they danced to sensual songs and they're always touching? I've been getting messages nonstop that they created an AI spicy account. So I'm like, what? So I go and look and I do some research and they did.
The whole situation with Patrick and Sarah Gettel, the so-called dad and daughter dream team, is one of the most disturbing and unsettling cases that I have watched play out online in real time. When they first showed up in 2023, they looked like this harmless family that were just posting dance videos that families usually post for fun. Over time, the internet just started noticing things that didn't feel right and the whole picture just shifted. What seemed cute at first just slowly revealed a pattern of control, manipulation, and a behavior that looked more like emotional grooming than anything innocent. The deeper people looked, the more they found, and it turned into a case that dragged in people, commentators, and entire online communities who were trying to figure out how something this strange and how something this troubling managed to hide in plain sight for far too long. But before I go on, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Jewel. Welcome to my channel. And on this channel I speak about whatever I want to speak about, whether they are trendy or not. I give deep dives, commentary, literally I speak about whatever. But that being said, if you'd want to see more of this, kindly like, share, subscribe if you care, and see you next time. That being said, let's get straight into this video. Let's speak about the origins and the initial perception of the Gretel family, because the Gretel family setup already raised questions before anyone even understood the full scope of what was going on. You had Patrick, a grown man who looked old enough to be deep into midlife, Teresa, who mostly stayed in the background, who is Patrick's wife. We are getting to Teresa soon. Their adult daughter Sarah, who had just come out of her teens, and their younger son called H. So H is a minor, so I'm not going to really speak about H because he rarely shows up, but he's a minor, so we're going to leave him out of this equation. So they uprooted their life in New Hampshire and they moved to Dallas, and most people had no idea why. What made things stranger was how unstable their living situation seemed. Instead of settling into a normal home right away, they drifted through a string of extended stay hotels. These places were not just basic, they were borderline unlivable. People who followed their updates remember them mentioning roach infestations and cramped room. It painted a picture of a family under strain long enough before the internet ever noticed their TikTok. Sarah's online presence started completely separate from her dad. She had a regular teenage TikTok that was filled with the usual stuff. She would dance and she would have like viral dances, songs that were trending at that time. She would follow like all these silly TikTok trends, and nothing out of the ordinary was what was posted on Sarah's TikTok page prior to now, or prior to when her dad joined, because according to her own retelling, she said that her dad stumbled onto her account one day and decided that he did not like the way some of the dances looked. He labeled them inappropriate for their conservative beliefs and said that they did not fit the image that he felt that their family should show to the world. Instead of pushing back or keeping her space private, Sarah was like, okay, since you're not comfortable with the content that I make, okay, why don't you join me? Let's make this content together. And with that, maybe you could feel like much more secure and much more reassured.
So when I first dove into social media, I really wanted everyone to like me. So I would post a bunch of videos here on TikTok on things that were trending. I was really uncomfortable with some of them because the sounds weren't exactly clean. I mean, I cussed, but these were bad. I was able to stay away from a lot of the suggestive stuff because of my beliefs. I got a decent response and people wanting to message me and talk to me. I was happy people were liking me. That's where it got a bit crazy. I ended up in a group chat and talking to people there, and they were all talking about editing and trends and stuff like that and asking me to do certain trends. I can't even remember all of them, but I know some of them had sounds that weren't great, but I wanted people to like me, so I did them. I also got into editing and cosplay transitions. Some of the edits they talked about sounded fun. So I dove into my favorite TV shows and movies for edit. I ended up getting so involved that I became obsessed with them. I did a few cosplay transitions from the shows and wore outfits I would never wear. I also heavily used makeup, which I hate. I got to a point where I couldn't even recognize myself anymore. It wasn't until my dad stumbled on one of my accounts that I realized how bad it had gotten. Honestly, I never crossed a few lines because of my core beliefs, but I was at a point where I might have. My dad sat me down and explained to me that it's okay for you to want people to like you, but by changing who you are, they aren't really liking you, they're liking the person they want you to be. He told me to find those friends that accept me for who I am, and those are my true friends. So I deleted all the accounts and found a couple true friends who stuck by me even when they knew who I truly was. Since I decided to focus on myself, I am much happier. I'm at a point now where I don't care what anyone else thinks I should be. I am who I am, and I change for no one. I decided that I still wanted to do TikTok, but I wanted to be the real me. So I asked my dad to team up and do dance trends and maybe even other fun stuff. And so the dream team was born.
In her mind, this would fix everything and just turn her page into something wholesome. That moment just changed everything. It was the start of the dad and daughter dream team. When they first appeared together, the videos looked simple. A dad and daughter doing dances because the internet likes family interactions, which is a story for another day. And if you glanced at it for like 5 seconds, you would think it was the same kind of content that you see from other families where the parents just try TikTok trends for fun. But when people actually sat through the videos, the atmosphere just felt different. They did not feel playful. Maybe they looked playful if you're just like looking through it, but if you're one of the people who were analyzing this daddy-daughter dream team, you would see that the content were not looking playful or goofy. It not look like something that should have come across as light-hearted, but instead it gave people this strange heavy feeling. Their movements were too in sync in a way that made people feel very uncomfortable instead of them feeling entertained. Patrick often stared at Sarah far longer than what felt normal for a parent filming with their child. Their closeness in the frame just looked forced and it looked almost rehearsed. It did not look natural.
It's just a cigarette and it cannot be that bad.
Honey, don't you love me and you know it makes me sad.
Just a cigarette like you always used to do.
I was different then, I don't need them to be cool.
Even the way Sarah just reacted to him sometimes with this mix of nervousness and appeasement just felt very unsettling. None of it screamed a healthy father-daughter bond.
That's like God love homecoming.
I'm not that good. Alright guys, so that's it. It's actually really good.
Yep.
Yes, until next time.
Comment sections, they became so filled with people saying the same thing, that something was off. At first, the discomfort was very quiet, almost whispered between people who did not want to accuse anyone of anything. Over time, it turned into full conversations because the feeling simply grew too strong to ignore. The strangest part is that all of this happened before any of the later evidence came out, which we are going to talk about later on in this video. But in hindsight, before, if you know if you know this story already, all of this came out before the book, before the confessions, before the contradictions, before the Reddit investigations, which I said we'll talk about later on this video. People sensed something wrong with their dynamics from the very beginning. It was like watching a puzzle form in slow motion. You did not know what the full picture was yet, but the edges were already showing and none of it felt right. And speaking about this, let's talk about something else that will get you out of a stressful situation that does not equal this. 1 minute you're clocking in at work and the next you're on the ground with a serious injury. That's exactly what happened to a guy I heard about. He slipped on a wet floor, broke his ankle and suddenly couldn't walk for months. He thought that fighting through his company's insurance would be simple. Instead, they dragged their feet and offered him almost nothing. There is a reason influencer scandals go viral. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. If you are in a serious accident or are injured in any way, your case could actually be worth millions. With over 1,000 attorneys across the country and 35 years of experience, Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you the money that you deserve. They've recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients, and their results speak volume. In Pennsylvania, one client was offered $650,000 but walked away with $26 million after Morgan & Morgan fought for them. In Florida, another client went from $0 offer to a $20 million verdict. The best part, starting a claim is simple. You can do it online in minutes right from your couch. No stacks of paperwork, no endless office visits. So, if you're ever injured at work, you can check out Morgan & Morgan because their fee is free unless they win. You can just click the link in the description box or scan the QR code on screen to start your claim today. This is an ad for Otter Spirit. They are a brand that actually gives back because every order donates $1 towards saving wild sea otters in Montero Bay in California. They work with real ocean wildlife organizations, so your purchase protects real animals. The bracelet they sent me are so authentic and AA grade. They still look brand new even after I swam with them in the salty sea of Tunisia. The first bracelet is Golden Tiger Eye. Its intention is confidence. It connects to the root and sacral chakras, and the zodiac signs are Leo, Capricorn, Aries, and Sagittarius. It felt grounding the moment I touched it. Even my cat that was sleeping woke up, came up, and kept licking my hands when I opened it. The second is Pyrite. The intention of Pyrite is prosperity. It works with the solar plexus chakra, and the zodiac signs are Aries, Scorpio, Leo, and Sagittarius. It shines like moving water, in my own opinion. The third is Iolite. Iolite's intention is intuition. It connects to the third eye and the child chakras, and the zodiac signs are Aries, Libra, Aquarius, and Leo. The last one, which is my absolute favorite, is Citrine. The intention is prosperity. It connects to the solar plexus, root, and sacral chakras. Zodiac signs are Aries, Leo, Gemini, and Libra. Citrine, like I said, is one of my favorites, and getting this bracelet made me so happy because for consistently close to 5 years now, I have been wearing a citrine necklace. By buying from Otter Spirit, you save wild otters and you also support a good cause. For November, use Jewel 35 for 35% off any orders over $99 or Jewel 20 for 20% off any order. Visit otterspirit.com or you click the link in my description box. I love mine, and I think you will too. That being said, let's talk about the first red flags. From the moment that the account went public, people were already uneasy, like I had earlier discussed. They hadn't even scrapped 8,000 views before the comments filled up with the same worries. People kept pointing out how close Patrick and Sarah stood in every clip, how their body language just felt too intimate for a father and a daughter, and how the overall vibe just did not feel right. Instead of taking a breath and trying to understand why so many strangers were reacting the way that they did, Patrick and Sarah, they quickly snapped back. Their tone was defensive from day one. Every concern was brushed off as someone trolling. Anyone who questioned the dynamic got labeled as someone with a dirty mind. There was never any moment of reflection. There was just immediate hostility. They would fire back. And then there was a video that blew everything up. And the video was a video of Purity Ring. Yeah, if you know this, so you know what I'm talking about, the Purity Ring moment. This wasn't filmed like a casual family announcement. It was set up like a romantic proposal. Patrick pulled out a $35 diamond ring from Walmart. He dropped down on one knee. He looked up at his adult daughter and he asked her to wear the ring as a promise to God and to him that she would stay pure until marriage.
Okay, guys. We got something special for you, so please don't go anywhere. Stop scrolling, alright? So, I am about to give Sarah a purity ring, but I'm going to do it in a very special way. I am actually going to make it look like a marriage proposal. Now, don't get the wrong idea, it's not a marriage proposal. Okay, this is just... I'm very grateful that she has remained pure to this point and is continuing to remain pure, and I want to give this to her as a sign that I'm proud of her. There it is. She's gonna love it. Okay, so let's go get Sarah.
Yo, you can't make this shit up. The entire scene was slow and dramatic, and Sarah's reaction just made everything worse. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her shoulders were tight, and she kept giving these small, nervous smiles. She didn't look excited, she looked very uncomfortable. And even then, she placed the ring on her left ring finger, the same finger that is used for engagement and wedding rings.
Sarah, I need you to get up, honey. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Just trying to be.
Yes. You're about to find out.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen. First of all, okay, you're 20 years old. To your age, I'm not that.
Sad but true.
I want to thank you for the shirt. Okay? And, I want to give you something.
What?
I want to give you something.
Okay.
Okay? So, Sarah.
Yeah. What are you doing? What? What is this?
Sarah, will you wear this ring as a sign and a promise to God and to me to remain pure until the day you're married?
Yes. That is gorgeous.
Okay. This ring will remain on your left ring finger until the day your husband puts another ring there in its place. It's a sign that you will remain pure.
Nice.
I love you.
I love you too.
Sweet girl.
I like it.
The clip changed the whole conversation. People who were unsure before just suddenly felt confirmed in their suspicion. The purity ring tradition itself is already controversial in some Christian communities, but even in the most conservative families, it's usually done as a general ceremony or a group prayer moment. It's not staged to look like a lover kneeling down to propose to someone that is literally their daughter. The diamond ring, the kneeling pose, the wordings that he used, and the way that it was filmed all crossed a line. Mental health professionals started speaking up, so many commentators started speaking up. People who have tried to give them the benefit of the doubt could not do it anymore. It stopped feeling like awkward family content that was put out there on the internet and everybody feels uneasy with. It started looking like emotional enmeshment being broadcast to the whole internet. This was the moment that people literally realized that something much deeper and much darker might be going on behind the camera. So now let's speak about the patterns of inappropriate behavior, because the physical contact in their videos became one of the biggest warning signs when it came to the daddy-daughter dream team. They weren't just standing close the way that some families usually do on camera. They were always touching in ways that felt uncomfortable or out of place for a father and daughter. They held hands constantly. They hugged with a kind of slowness that looked romantic instead of comforting. They started posting videos pressed together in these soft, cuddly poses that felt staged to get a reaction. Patrick touched her hair a lot, stroked the back of her neck, and kept his hands on her whenever he could. Even while explaining why people were wrong for being uncomfortable, he would still stay glued to his daughter. It didn't read as affection, it read as boundaries issues that was being wrapped in defensiveness.
If you hurt my girl, you will answer directly to me for whatever crimes I commit against you. Remember, I have diplomatic immunity in 46 countries, including Puerto Rico.
Sir, you will find that the word fear is not in my vocabulary.
Perhaps, but it's in your eyes.
When people called them out for the amount of touching, Patrick, instead of him taking heed, he would literally explain something while he's doing it, and his explanation just made everything worse. He said that physical closeness was their family's love language, and that he held hands with his wife Teresa and their son the same way that he holds his daughter. But when people put those clips side by side, the difference was very impossible to ignore. With Teresa, he looked tired, he looked annoyed and emotionally checked out. In one video where they tried to give marriage advice, Patrick rolled his eyes and barely even interacted with her. Teresa sat there like she just wanted to disappear. Yet with Sarah, anytime with Sarah, he would suddenly lit up. He was engaged, he was expressive and physically affectionate in a way that crossed every line of what a father-daughter relationship should look like.
You know, we're not supposed to be touching anyone.
Suddenly you call my name and I lose my brain and I float up to the moon.
Really?
What?
Really?
Yeah, really.
It's too hot for this.
Thank you.
I do.
Bye.
Their content choices did not even help. They kept choosing romantic songs for their duet, not songs that were like, not cute parent-daughter songs, but songs that are literally about lovers. They acted out breaking free from High School Musical, like they were the two leads that were falling for each other, complete with long eye contact and holding hands. Like literally, they danced to You're the One That I Want from Greece. They lip-synced to love songs and leaned into each other the way couples usually did on TikTok. sex. Every choice just pointed to them either not understanding boundaries or intentionally playing into the shock value. Then there was the clothing situation. So basically, Sarah casually mentioned that her dad picked most of her outfits. She was in her early 20s, yet her father selected what she wore, including the high-heeled white lace-up boots that kept appearing in their videos. For a grown woman to have their dad shopping for her wardrobe is not normal. It showed how much control that he had over her daily life, even in the smallest decisions. And then the book damaged everything. So Patrick and Sarah co-wrote a fantasy novel called Firebound Harmony.
Do you love dragon fantasy books?
Well, do we have a treat for you? Hi, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Sarah. We just wrote an incredible tale for you. Injured dragon named Aurelia. When she tries to tell her father, he forbids her from seeing this dragon.
But Jalen disobeys her father, and soon begins to form a bond with Aurelia. When her father finds out, he is furious and tries to keep them apart.
But Jalen runs to Aurelia and leaves her kingdom behind.
Jalen and Aurelia learn of a bond between dragons and humans that could change their lives forever.
On paper, it sounded like this typical fantasy about a 17-year-old princess named Jalen and a dragon named Aurelia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it well, Aurelia. But when people looked deeper, the tone of the book was so disturbing. Sarah read one of the passages out loud and it was filled with sexual innuendos about the bond between the girl and the dragon.
The bond between a human and dragon is an integral part of our story.
Oh, trust me, when the bond forms, you'll know it.
The feeling was like nothing she had ever experienced in her 17 years. It was as if Aurelia was a part of her now, like she was inside her body. She could feel Aurelia's emotions. She loved her even more now. Aurelia was now a part of her. They were fully connected. There was no distinction. Aurelia was Jalen and Jalen was Aurelia. "This feels amazing," she said out loud, not meaning to. "I feel connected with you now on a deeper level than I have ever been connected with anyone." "That is the eternal bond we now share, dear Jalen," said Aurelia, almost purring with delight because she felt it too.
The line about Aurelia being inside her body and there being no distinction between them, it was so explicit that people immediately connected it to the questions already surrounding Patrick and Sarah. Patrick's author notes just made things even much more uncomfortable. He wrote about Sarah being 21 but smarter and wiser than most people twice her age and called her his best friend. I have a problem with parents saying that their children are their best friends. Your child cannot be your best friend. Yes, you can be close to them, be a listening ear to them, advise them, but your children are not your best friends. Okay? They can be your parent. Your children should see you as a parent. In my own opinion, your children should see you as a parent and they should be comfortable enough to see you as a parent, but they're not your best friends. Best friend definition is totally different from a relationship that a father or a mother or a parent and a child have together, because the dynamics are so different. Okay, anyways, Patrick talked about them speaking the same literal language. Combined with the book's content and their online behavior, it sounded like he was using creative writing to romanticize their connection and present it as something special instead of something deeply unhealthy. On top of that, Patrick kept contradicting himself about how the book was written. First, he insisted that there was no AI involvement at all. Then he admitted that they used it for a couple things, and then he claimed they paraphrased everything. Each version of the story just changed depending on who asked the question. Given the pattern of manipulation and the way he controlled every narrative around them, people found his explanations very impossible to trust. Altogether, the physical contact, the romantic framing, the control over Sarah's appearance, and the book filled with uncomfortable parallels just created a picture that was so hard to ignore. It didn't come across as a close family. It came across as a father just crossing emotional, physical, and psychological boundaries, and a daughter who had been taught to just normalize all of this. So now let's talk about the aurelia bridgman saga. The turning point in the entire Patrick and Sarah story, the moment that stripped away any last benefit of the doubt, came with the uncovering of the aurelia bridgman's account. Everything before this could still be argued away. People could say that the touching was weird, but maybe harmless, the purity ring was odd, but maybe cultural, and the book was was questionable, but maybe just bad writing. The aurelia account removed that gray area completely. So basically, they revealed something calculated, secretive, and deeply disturbing, all connected back to Patrick. It started quietly. Sarah posted a video on TikTok lip syncing to what looked like a normal audio. It was credited to an artist named Aurelia Bridgman. Most people wouldn't think twice about that, but the internet is a very nosy place, and people who have been paying intense attention or close attention to the Gretel situation just checks the audio details. What they found was shocking. Sarah's video was the only one on TikTok that had ever used the song. That almost never happens unless the audio is private or created specifically for that particular creator. It meant this wasn't some random trending sound. Someone made it up, uploaded it, and Sarah just happened to be the only person who ever used it. That was too strange to ignore. So people dug deeper.
Shadows take control, and silence is all I hear. Your voice so sweet makes my heart beat. You're my anchor when it's dark, with love that always leaves a mark. Together we conquer every spark. You calm the storm, bring me back to where I belong. In your arms where I am strong. You calm the storm. In your eyes I find my peace. In your smile my worries cease. With your love I fight the tide. In your heart.
The name Aurelia immediately set off alarms because it sounded almost exactly like Aurelia, the dragon character from the book that Patrick and Sarah wrote. So let me spell it because I know they sound similar. So Aurelia is A-R-I-E-L-A, is a sound that Sarah used, and Aurelia has U in between the A and R, so A-U-R-E-L-I-A. So Aurelia is the book with the dragon that her and her dad wrote, and Aurelia is the sound bites that Sarah used on one of her videos. So anyways, the AI profile picture on the account looked eerie similar to Jenna Frank, the same influencer that Patrick has been obsessing over. So basically, Sarah called Jenna her best friend, even though the only real life interaction they had was paying for expensive meet and greets.
Laugh like sunshine through the rain, and somehow take away the pain. Even while you're close to me, that's just how it's meant to be. You and me, birthday twins from the start. Same day, same spark, 2 years apart, but the love we share is bigger than time. You always win me in heart and mind. You light the world with the joy you bring. Lift people up just by being. I'm so proud of who you are. You're my best friend, my northern star.
That was not a friendship. That was a delusion that Patrick fed, encouraged, and shaped for his daughter. And now there was an AI face floating around that looked suspiciously like the woman that he had been fixated on. Things escalated. Investigators found out that Aurelia Bridgman wasn't just a TikTok audio creator. There were multiple accounts that were tied to that same name. There was an Instagram page that featured links to sex work content. Yes, guys, literally. There was also a Reddit account. There was also a Literatica account. Everything looked connected and everything pointed back to Patrick. When people started sharing these discoveries online, every single Aurelia Bridgman's account disappeared within hours. They weren't taken down slowly or updated or explained. They just vanished from the internet.
Another update on the dad and daughter dream team account, which makes Patrick look even more guilty. First of all the stories in the Aurelia Bridgman account have been deleted from Literatica, which is certainly suspicious timing. If you guys didn't know, this was the Literatica account that has strong ties to either Sarah or Patrick or both. And this was the account that featured several stories with this kind of corn. I want you guys to know when the other aurelia bridgman accounts were found, they were deleted very shortly after people started posting about it. If you guys are unsure what the aurelia bridgman accounts are and how they are probably tied to either Sarah or Patrick, I have a video in my playlist you can find where I explain all that. It just takes a really long time. I'm sure some of you have seen this TikTok where this woman found out that Patrick's email was already in use on the site. As you can see right here, already in use. And here's Patrick's email on one of his social media accounts. What makes it even worse, people wanted to know if Patrick had even more accounts on this website. So they took more of his known emails and tried to create an account with them. But it says this email is already in use. And that wasn't true with just one of his emails, but a second one and a third one. I just want to clarify two things really quick. You cannot make an account on here without verifying your email. So this does not mean that other people took his email and made an account with it, because they would need to be able to go into the email and verify it before posting anything. And two, the reason why these screenshots are censored, the person who posted this on Reddit said that they had to repost it because they had the original post taken down for doxing. But these are also some of Patrick's emails. So this confirmed that Patrick at least has or had accounts on that Literotica website. Now that, combined with the fact that all the stories and the account is deleted only after people started talking about it, certainly looks suspicious. And lastly, I just want to repeat the message that I said at the end of my last video. Sarah is a victim, and if this is her reality, I really hope she's able to get out of this situation. There will be a lot of people here supporting you. There will be lots of organizations that can help you out.
And that kind of immediate wipeout only happens when the person behind the account gets scared for being called out. And fear was exactly the right reaction, because what people found on Literatica was literally so chilling. The stories published under Aurelia's name were not just adult fiction, they were grotesque, they featured incest, they described grooming in explicit detail, they were stories involving adults manipulating children, adults crossing boundaries with minors, and fantasies that mirrored the exact same patterns of accusation that people have been making against Patrick.
Remember the Daughter Dream Team, the dad that proposed to his daughter with the purity ring and then they dance to sensual songs and they're always touching? I've been getting messages nonstop that they created an AI spicy account. So I'm like, what? So I go and look and I do some research, and they did. Back last year, the daughter danced to a song by this girl named Aurelia, who, it was an AI song, nobody else had used it, and pretty much the only people that girl was following was the Dream Team. People put two and two together. Well, that Aurelia came back in full force. They created all kinds of accounts for her, including some on spicy websites, a Reddit account, all kinds of stuff, and posted, spicy pictures and videos. You could even request stuff, so they could make some money. Well, when the Redditors put this all together and made a post about it, all of the Aurelia content was deleted. If that doesn't scream guilty, I don't know what does. Now let me ask you, would you and your dad make that type of content? The answer is probably no, and the answer is probably no because you weren't groomed by your father. And there's a lot more recently that's come out, including Sarah saying some things that would be harmful to minorities, the dad sniffing her, more touching. It's gotten bad. These people went from a lol cow, an LOL cow, whatever you want to call it, to sinister.
This was not a coincidence. It was a reflection of the darkest part of his mind, written out and posted online. And you know what? The email attached to the account was not generic. It matched Patrick's email. The platform's login system proved this, because on Literatica, once an email is registered, no one else can use it. Meaning the person who wrote those stories was the same person who controlled the inbox. So when people put Patrick's email to try to create an account, it says this account is already used, or someone already has this email. So basically, people discovered that Patrick was the one who created this account. When confronted, Patrick didn't admit to anything at first. He went straight into attacking people. He claimed that he didn't create AI accounts. He said he barely knew how to use technology. He said he only liked Ariela's posts to support small creators. He said that Sarah used the audio because it appeared on her For You page. He dismissed the similarities to their book characters. He tried to explain away everything by painting himself as this harmless, misunderstood father.
Let's look at this, shall we? So their evidence that it's us is we liked their photos on Instagram. And Sarah lip-synced the song. Well, you do of course realize that songs, TikTok videos can pop up on people's For You page that you interacted with. It's part of the algorithm. So Sarah was the only one to make a lip sync. Sarah was the only one to actually make a lip sync or use the song. Well, it wasn't up long apparently, and she's the only one that saw it. And as for liking their photos on Instagram, well, we've already told you about that. We literally wanted to support a small creator, even if it was. Let's set this to rest right now. Let's take a look. So the way they pin this on us is apparently this Ariella Bridgman character sounds a lot like Aurelia. Okay, well, the trolls know our book just as well as we do.
And none of his explanations made sense, and yet he held onto them until he couldn't anymore. So basically everything changed during a live interview with a TikTok. She confronted him calmly, step by step, laying out each piece of evidence without yelling or attacking him. He kept dodging questions until suddenly something inside him cracked. He snapped and blurted out the truth. You know what? Fuck it. Honestly, yeah, I made the Ariel account. That was it. The first real admission after months of lying.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Honestly, you know what? Fuck it. Honestly, yeah, I created the Ariel account. I made that account.
Patrick, thank you. You have been set free, man. You're set free. Doesn't that feel good? Sarah, give your father a hug. Give that man a hug, because that is the most amazing thing you could have done for yourself. Really, I'm air hugging you. Good job. Seriously, you are.
Honestly, I didn't want to go. But I lost control.
Life is hard. Patrick. Really, I'm really proud of you. That's really hard to admit something like that. But good for you. I think this is, like we told you in our messages back and forth, I think this live is going to be a good beginning for you.
I hope so.
Yeah, now all the backlash from Reddit that's what we're gonna have to deal with now.
But anyways, that confession that Patrick later admitted to, it even came with twist. He still tried to distance himself from the worst part. He insisted that he not write the literatical stories. He claimed that somebody else had used his email, and if someone else have used your email, you have to verify it from your own account. So didn't you see that someone else used your email? It was a very flimsy excuse, and he knew it. He tried to act confused. He tried to play innocent, but the technical evidence didn't support anything that he said.
I have told the truth throughout this entire video. I have not lied once. I never created an AI account. Not one. I've never written anything NSFW or shown anything NSFW. That's not who I am. I finally came out and admitted to creating the Ariella AI account. Now, as far as the Literotica account, I did not create that.
And then, after the live stream ended, shared text messages that proved that he had admitted to even worse. So basically, off camera without an audience, he confessed to the whole Literotica account too. He tried to frame it as not that serious, as if the content wasn't directly tied to the accusations against him. The messages showed the real pattern behind everything. Lie when he thinks he can get away with it. Confess only when cornered. and then twist the confession to soften how bad it looks. The aurelia bridgman discovery just pulled the mask off so completely. It showed that Patrick wasn't just a controlling father with blood boundaries. He was running secret accounts tied to sexual fantasies, and he was creating AI personas modeled after women that he was fixated on. He was posting content drenched in themes of incest and grooming, and he was doing all of it behind his daughter's back while pretending to be this wholesome Christian dad online. Yo. I was born a Christian, and honestly, the more I grow up, the more I see reasons as to why people do not fuck with Christianity or fuck with religion. Like, I am in this point of my life where I am in between. I'll not say in between religion because I don't see myself as a religious person, but I'm at this point in my life where I am very careful as to what I believe in. I lean obviously more towards spirituality, but I also respect Christianity as a religion. But from what I've seen, religious people sometimes, like, they're so blinded and they always want to put up this facade to the outside world. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're doing something worse. Like, literally, the more I grow up, the more I see how religious people just get exposed for doing things that they will condemn another person for doing. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern of calculated deceit that was woven through their entire online presence. The aurelia accounts didn't just expose Patrick's behavior, they exposed his intentions, and once people saw that, the conversation shifted from this seems weird to this is one of the most disturbing documented cases of online grooming that we've ever seen. Now let's talk about the family dysfunction and isolation, because Teresa's place in this story says more about the Gretel family dynamic than almost anything that Patrick or Sarah has posted. She's the wife, the mother, the person who should be an equal partner in her home, yet she barely exists in their own content. On the rare occasions that she does appear, she looks deeply uncomfortable. Her shoulders, they stay tense, her posture is withdrawn, and her eyes, they rarely meet the camera. What stands out even more is that she doesn't even wear a ring or a wedding ring at all, while Patrick made a dramatic show of giving Sarah a purity ring. That contrast alone just raises questions. It feels like a symbolic center of the relationship has shifted from his wife to his daughter, which is so disgusting. There have been unverified claims circulating for years that Teresa's family opposed her relationship with Patrick. Some people close to the situation have said that Patrick isolated her early on, cutting her off from the people who might have supported her. Whether every detail of that is true, the end result is painfully clear on the videos. Patrick barely acknowledges her when she sits beside him. He looks irritated, he rolls his eyes, his tone is flat and dismissive. Meanwhile, the moment that Sarah enters the frame, his whole personality just flips. He becomes energetic, affectionate, and emotionally locked in. What you see on camera is a grown man who seems far more bonded to his daughter than to his wife, and the wife looks like she has learned to stay small just to keep the peace in her home.
So this is a early picture of Patrick and Teresa, and I believe that's baby Sarah. You know, I listened to them. They did a live a long time ago, and somebody on the live asked Patrick, how did you meet Teresa? And he said that he had just started working, I believe it was McDonald's, and she was working there, and he said he walked in and it was love at first sight. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's a really, really sweet and like wholesome story. I don't see it that way. Don't see it that way. I think Patrick is somebody who likes to target weak people, and I don't think that Teresa obviously is able to understand fully what was going on, and he was able to take advantage of her, truly take advantage of her. The very slim things that we get to see of them like interact with one another, the relationship just seems odd. Like she obviously doesn't really understand what's going on. I don't even think she fully understands like the severity of what people are saying about Sarah and Patrick, because If that was my daughter and that was happening and somebody said that about my kid and it wasn't happening, I would have made a TikTok page and come on here and said, you know, everyone shut the hell up. But obviously that has not happened. I don't know. It to me, it's like people like him maybe target weak people. And I think that Teresa was a victim in this as well. And I don't think she fully understands what's going on. And I feel really, really bad for her and for Hunter, the son. I just think that they're kind of like caught up in the storm. There's definitely something going on in this family, and the only thing I can hope is that Sarah one day is able to break free and actually get away from him. For a father to be very concerned about their daughter's purity is a red flag. It is an absolute red flag. It is horrific to think somebody that is your dad would want to be so involved in that aspect of your life, and the fact that she doesn't see it that way is just that's so telling. Like, come on, that tells me everything I need to know right then and there.
Then came the move out storyline, which turned into one of the most revealing parts of this entire case. As criticisms grew about their family's living arrangements and the lack of physical boundaries, Sarah suddenly announced that she had moved out on her own. She said that she lived 30 minutes away, that she had a job. She showed snippets of her new apartment and even created an Amazon wish list for people to buy her moving essentials. It looked like a huge step towards independence, but the story immediately started falling apart. People noticed that Sarah and Patrick were still filming together constantly. They appeared in each other's videos at times that did not line up with someone who supposedly lived half an hour away and worked regular hours. The decoration in Sarah's new apartment looked identical to their family setup. The same couch, the same throw blankets, the same kitchen items, the same wall decor. Every clip that she posted was tight, cropped, and carefully framed to avoid showing the full space around her. TikTok and Reddit investigators eventually pieced together the truth. And do you guys want to know the truth? The truth is that Sarah hadn't moved into her own apartment at all.
Dad and daughter dream team update. Patrick admits that Sarah never moved out, along with further confirmation that yes, he wrote this kind of corn story. The message he wrote to TikToker Hannah. Of course it does. So yes, I wrote that story. That was the only story like that I had written. It was a complete fiction and it was hard for me to even write it. I was being stupid and trying to get traction for the whole AI account, and terrifying as it is, most of the top stories on Literotica are from that category. There, I said it. Now you know everything that we lied about except for one thing. Sarah never moved out completely. Got a 2-bedroom apartment and an extended stay, and the second bedroom has a second kitchen and a door, so it was kind of the same but not really. Many people were pressuring her to move out, and she just wanted to try and get a break from it all. And she didn't want to leave TikTok, so she felt it was better just to make people believe she left. I think it's no surprise that, yeah, Sarah didn't really move out. They were just trying to get the heat off of Patrick. It also means that people who bought items off of the Amazon wish lists that were specifically for Sarah moving out were scammed. She never officially moved out. All of those items are going straight to Patrick. He also did a terrible job of trying to convince people that she moved out because she wouldn't show the full apartment, first of all, and you could see that there was clearly more people living there.
The truth finally slipped out. Sarah admitted that she had simply moved into another part of the same residential complex, not 30 minutes away, not a separate life, not independence. She was still right there, still tied to the same environment, still under the same roof in every practical sense, only separated by a short walk or maybe walls. When I asked her why she lied, Sarah said that she didn't want to be bullied for not moving far enough away, and that explanation just said everything. It showed how deeply she feels the need to protect the image that Patrick wants the world to see. Instead of telling the truth, she created an entire fictional life just to cover for her dad. A new apartment, a new commute, a new job, all of it crafted to keep people from questioning the family's living arrangements and the lack of boundaries. What this exposed was not just a lie, it was a pattern. Sarah has been conditioned to defend Patrick even when the story falls apart. She had been trained to absorb the blame, cushion the truth, and make him look good. And through all of this, Teresa just remains in the background, overshadowed by an unhealthy father-daughter bond that dominates the whole household.
I'm eating it right now. No, you're not. What do you think I'm chewing on?
I don't know. Your tongue?
Come back over here. Why would I chew on my tongue? What? Why would I chew on my tongue?
Really?
What?
Really?
Yeah, really.
It's too hot for this.
I don't care.
I do.
Bye. Can I have a hug?
I suppose. You know we're not supposed to be touching anymore.
The move out deception or the move out story was not just another twist to this story, it just revealed the full extent of the emotional control that Patrick has over both women in his family and how far Sarah is willing to go to keep that control intact. Now let's talk about other red flags in the Gretel family dynamic. One of the darkest threads that has been running through the story is the way the Gretel family live. For years they all slept in the same room and in some cases the same bed. This wasn't something that Patrick chalked up to financial strain or lack of space. He insisted it was simply because they were that close and genuinely enjoyed being together all the time. Even without knowing anything else, that kind of setup between an adult father, an adult daughter, a wife and a younger son is so alarming. It shows a complete collapse of normal boundaries. Behind the scenes, people started hearing something even much more concerning. There were claims that the family moved constantly, not just for work or finances, but to avoid intervention from CPS. Different people reported that each time concerns about their family situation or their behavior got so loud, the family seemed to uproot and relocate again. None of this has officially been confirmed by CPS, but the pattern of repeated moves paired with the nature of the allegation just makes the fear feel real. When a family repeatedly shifts location right as question rises about their safety, it raises the possibility that authorities were already trying to intervene. This pattern becomes even much more disturbing when you look at Patrick's family history. Patrick has openly admitted that both of his brothers are convicted sexual offenders. Not one, but two. David Gretel and John Paul Gretel both have criminal records involving minors and they're on the list on the sex offenders register. But anyways, instead of distancing himself, Patrick still speaks warmly about them. He says that he refuses to abandon family. He describes their crimes as mistakes. He frames their offenses as things that they can move past, not the severe crimes that they actually are.
Perfect example, they brought up my brother's convictions. Yes, my brothers were convicted of sex offenders. That's their problem, not mine. Okay, yes, I still talk to my brothers. They're my brothers. Hello. I mean, I don't condone their crimes, but you don't abandon family. They pay their price to society.
Even worse, he has allowed his children to spend time with them. When you put this next to the behavior that people already see from Patrick, it forms a deeply unsettling pattern. A man who crosses boundaries with his daughter, a man who normalizes sexual offenses committed by his brothers, a man who consistently minimizes or reframes the most serious accusations against the people closest to him. It shows a family culture where the safety of young people is not taken seriously and where sexual harm gets treated like inconvenience instead of danger. On top of all of this, Patrick once made a video series called Patrick Unscripted where he admitted to having porn addiction in the past. He presented this as an act of vulnerability, as if being open about him made him trustworthy. But honestly, to me, the timing and presentation feels so calculated. It comes across like a way for him to just seem honest enough that people wouldn't question the much darker things happening in the background. The admission just functions like a shield. Like if he could confess to something embarrassing, maybe people would assume that he couldn't possibly be hiding anything worse. The issue is that none of these pieces exist in isolation. The sleeping arrangement, the constant movement, the family history of sexual offenses, his willingness to dismiss those crimes as mistakes, his own admission of a past pornography addiction, his behavior towards Sarah, every detail just built on to the next, and the result is a picture of a man who repeatedly crosses boundaries, excuses similar behaviors in others, and shapes an environment where these boundaries barely exist at all. Together, these patterns are not just random, they align closely with what so many people recognize as grooming behavior. And what is grooming behavior? Basically creating isolation, breaking down boundaries, normalizing inappropriate closeness, and dismissing or minimizing sexual harm. The Gretel family's living arrangements alone and Patrick's family history don't just raise eyebrows, they literally add context to everything that people have been seeing online and help explain why so many people just felt uneasy long before the evidence caught up. That being said, let's speak about the psychological analysis of the grooming dynamics in the Patrick and Sarah Gettel's case. What makes the Patrick and Sarah situation so alarming is that the grooming didn't happen in one dramatic event. It developed slowly over years through isolation, blood boundaries, and a family structure that made Patrick the unquestioned center of everyone's emotional world. When you look at how these pieces fit together, the picture becomes painfully clear. This was not an accident or a misunderstanding. It was a carefully shaped environment where unhealthy behavior could thrive without being questioned. Patrick's control began with isolation. Sarah grew up homeschooled with almost no real friends, outside mentors, or she didn't even have social circles. When a child grows up with limited exposure to people outside their household, the parent's worldview becomes the only worldview that exists. There is no teacher pulling them aside. There is no classmates providing contrast, no outside influences that help them build an independent sense of self. That kind of environment gives the parents total psychological power because the child never learns how to measure normal behavior against anything beyond what they see at home. Once the isolation was set, the next step was the slow erosion of boundaries. This part is subtle by design. It starts with small things that seem harmless. Hand holding, sitting close, sleep arrangement that feel too intimate for a grown father and daughter. At first, it can be brushed off as affection, but over time, those bloodlines they pile up and become the new normal. If a child grows up being told that physical closeness is love and any discomfort they feel is guilt or misunderstanding, they lose the ability to recognize inappropriate behavior for what it is. This is why Sarah never flinched when Patrick touched her hair, held her by the waist, or stayed physically attached to her on camera. The boundaries had been stripped away long before she even entered adulthood. Sarah's loyalty to Patrick makes sense through this frame. Victims who are emotionally enmeshed with their abuser often defend them fiercely than anyone else because their sense of identity is tied to that relationship. Patrick positioned himself as her best friend, her guide, her moral compass, and her emotional anchor. When an abuser becomes the whole world to the victim, any criticism of the abuser just feels like a personal attack. So Sarah lashes out, swears, gets defensive, and protects him with everything that she has. It's not because she understands the situation, it's because she cannot survive the idea that everything that she believes about her father might be a lie. Accepting that truth would shatter the entire foundation of her life. Teresa's role in this whole dynamic is very sad and very tragic, but it's also important. She is the invisible wife who barely speaks, who barely moves, who barely exists in their family story. She often appears uncomfortable, withdrawn, or even embarrassed. In cases like this, the mother becomes an outsider in her own home. She loses her influence because the father and the daughter have formed an emotional alliance that does not include her. This dynamic is very common when it comes to families where there's been grooming or emotional incest. The mother is pushed to the side either by force or by slow erosion of her authority, while the father elevates the daughter into a partner role. This is not sexual in label, but it is deeply inappropriate in structure. Teresa looks like someone who knows something is wrong, but she does not have the power, the support, or the safety to just intervene.
Did I get all of them?
If there's 5 there, then yes.
Oh, Matthew says you're beautiful too. I already knew that, Matthew.
Okay, guys. Here we go.
Go on.
Come on.
Boom, boom, chat.
Ow.
Boom, boom. Ow.
I bit the side of my lip.
Well, don't do that.
Don't do that. There's no hurt. Don't get hurt.
The family's history makes everything even much more troubling. Patrick has openly acknowledged that both of his brothers are convicted sex offenders, not one but two, and instead of distancing himself, he minimizes their crimes and allows his children to be around them. That kind of normalization just teaches a child that sexual offenses are not dangerous, they're not harmful, they're just mistakes that everyone needs to move past. When a family treats sex offenses casually, it reshapes the child's understanding of safety. It teaches them to ignore the warning signs that they should be running from. Religion also plays a major part in how Patrick shaped the environment. He used strict Christian teachings to justify the closeness, to shut down criticisms. Purity culture, when it is being manipulated, just becomes a perfect tool to enforce obedience. A father gives a daughter a purity ring, not as a family moment, but in a way that mimics a romantic proposal. He frames it as this sacred bond between them. It teaches them that their closeness is wholly protected and misunderstood by the world. When religion is used like that, it convinces the victim that the inappropriate behavior is spiritual rather than harmful. This makes the victim even less likely to question it. They are taught that society is wrong and that the family is right, and that secrecy is not a red flag but a sign of spiritual loyalty. When you put all of these psychological factors together, the grooming becomes unmistakable. Isolation kept Sarah from forming an independent soul. Boundary erosion convinced her that physical closeness was normal, and emotional enmeshment just made Patrick the center of her world. Teresa's powerlessness removed any chance of protection. The family's history normalized sexual misconduct. Religious extremism reframed inappropriate behavior as purity devotion. This is what grooming looks like when it grows slowly over years. It traps the victim in a reality that's been built by the abuser. And once that reality is solid, the victim would defend it with everything they have. This is the heartbreaking part of Sarah's situation. Her loyalty is not a sign that nothing is wrong. It's a sign of how deeply the grooming has taken root. Now let's speak about the current status of this family and why the concerns haven't gone away. By late 2025, the entire online footprint of the daddy-daughter dream team has basically been wiped clean. Their main TikTok account disappeared first, followed by Patrick's Unscripted channel, and eventually Sarah's personal page went private and then vanished altogether. At this point, the only surviving trace of them online is a Cameo account that is charging $250 per video. It's never that deep. $250 per video for someone to say happy birthday to you. It feels less like a new chapter and more like a final attempt to cash in on whatever attention is left. But deleting accounts doesn't erase what's already been seen. It also doesn't erase the fact that Patrick has admitted to. When he confessed to creating the aurelia bridgman account, especially the Instagram page that was tied to sex work content, it changed everything. Once you combine that with the fact that technical evidence links his email to the liturgical account posting incest-themed stories, the picture becomes incredibly hard to ignore. It points to a pattern of behavior that goes far beyond awkward family TikTok. Patrick may continue denying the worst part, but the evidence paints a very different story. Sarah's role in all of this is just complicated in a way that most people misunderstand at first. On the surface, she defended her father aggressively. She argues with people, she insults people who criticizes them, she participates in the same videos that people find disturbing. To someone watching from the first time, it might be easy to ask why she did not stop, why she did not leave, why she did not see what everyone else saw. But what we should know is that this is exactly how grooming works. Victims don't just trust their abuser, they build their identity around them. The abuser convinces them that the outside world is wrong, judgmental, or out to get them. They learn to defend defend the abuser as if defending themselves. It becomes a survival strategy, and when you grow up isolated, controlled, and told that love looks a certain way, you cling to that version of reality because the alternative is too painful to process. I do not believe in homeschooling. Let me just say it. I wanted to say it. I do not believe in homeschooling, especially when the child is young. Maybe you can homeschool during secondary school days. I know there are people that homeschool their children, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe in homeschooling, solely homeschooling. I don't know. I believe that children should have like a social life and to see other people, because that's how you learn and you grow and you build your sense of self. And that's what I believe in. I don't believe in homeschooling. In primary school, I had like a lesson teacher. After school, the lesson teacher will come and teach us in our home. That's what we did. But solely homeschooling, I don't believe in it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wanted to say it may be controversial, but I've been holding it for so long. I don't believe in it. Honestly, let's go back to what we're talking about, because that has been on my neck and I just wanted to say it, but let me just say it. Sarah's hostility wasn't proof of her guilt. It's proof of her conditioning. Everything she said and she did was shaped by years of manipulation and emotional enmeshment. This whole story also sits at the intersection of larger conversations happening both online and offline. One of the biggest themes of parasocial vulnerability. And Sarah has convinced herself that she had a deep, meaningful friendship with influencer Jenna Frank, despite their only interactions being paid meet and greet. That kind of attachment happens when someone who grew up isolated finally finds a public figure to latch onto. It becomes a fantasy of connection that fills the emotional holes left by a controlling home life. Then there is the religious angle. Purity culture and strict Christian teachings were used to justify boundaries that shouldn't have existed in the first place. When you frame something as holy, you can make almost any behavior seem pure or protected. That is how control gets repackaged as devotion. It played a very huge role in why Sarah couldn't question anything. She was taught that their closeness wasn't just normal, but spiritual. Social media played a double-sided role. TikTok helped amplify their content in the beginning, pushing their videos to millions of people before anyone knew what was really happening. The same algorithm that boosted their fame also helped to fuel the online investigation that finally exposed the truth. Without the internet, none of this would have come to light. At the same time, it shows the limits of online justice. No matter how much evidence people uncover, no legal action has been taken against Patrick. This is the frustrating part of the internet investigation. The public is often several steps ahead of the legal system, but without formal charges or official intervention, the cycle continues behind closed doors. So even though the accounts are gone, the concerns haven't faded. The family did not disappear because they were proven innocent. They disappeared because they were exposed, and until there is real intervention, the situation remains just as troubling today as the day the internet first noticed that something was wrong. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of this video. If you watched to the end, kindly like, share and subscribe if you do care, and I really do hope you care. I really do love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm back. Y'all please support me, thank you. But I'm so grateful for everything and for all of you. I'm still going to be posting, and I hope I'm very consistent. That's my prayer. But thank you guys so much. I really do love and appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, bye bye.